Welcome back to the office of Captain Harold DeMarrero for River Stories Volume 29. We last left the Cap. Him and his wife had split up. He sold his company. He moved to Oklahoma City with an old friend of his, but he's trying to get back with his wife now. So take it away, Cap.
Well, my wife and I reconciled, and I moved back to Houston. I mean, you can't live with somebody that long. I had 2 kids, you know, wonderful kids, and you can't spend that much time with somebody and not think about them. So I knew I had done wrong, and I knew I'd lost the company, and I was willing to accept everything, except I didn't want to hear about it, every day. Forget it. And so I moved back into my home, and I started working as a trip pilot, working for different guys that I knew on the Mississippi and the Illinois River. And then I got a call from my old company that owned the Jag, the people that owned the Jag. And it was Mr. Weathers. No, it was Johnny Kirk called me. And I was actually on a boat when he called me. It was a Marine call. And really threw me off, And he told me, he says, Cap, he says, we want you to come back to Greenville and be our port captain. And, we've got 3 boats now, and we want you to be port captain over them and run them for us. And so I agreed and packed up family and everything and moved back to Greenville and bought a beautiful 5-bedroom, 3-bath home for $27,500, in the most elite part of town.
When was this?
Well, let's see, it was 67 through 69.
The summer of love.
Yeah, I was 30 then. So I came back, and the first thing I did was go in and restructure. The key to any boat is what pilots you've got driving it. You got to have people that know what they're doing driving your boats if you want your boats to be accident-free and successful. And of course, over the years, I had met a lot of pilots, and I'd worked with a few pilots when I was captain on the Jag before, and those guys found out that I was back running a towboat company. They all called me on the phone and wanted to come to work for me. So I started building that back up and got the company running in good shape. And we started operating a boat during the winter when there was no business on the river. We would, instead of bringing our boats all the way back to Greenville, I would bring like 2 of them back to Greenville and leave 1 of them in St. Louis so that I could get some jobs up there. And I lived on it, basically, And that was one of the things that my wife didn't understand, was why I wanted to live on this boat instead of coming home. But I did. I liked St. Louis. I had a lot of fun in St. Louis. I used to have a good friend. I met this guy when I was in St. Louis one time on the Jag, getting the Jag overhauled. And there used to be an old paddle wheel a steamboat that was docked about where the arch is. Now the arch wasn't there then, but it was the old yacht club. And inside the old yacht club, there was a bar downstairs, and then the second floor, there was like a nice nightclub. And the guy that ran it, his name was Frank Moskis. And Frank was an incredible entertainer, Frank was a star, but a St. Louis star. And everybody knew him, knew his music and everything. So I used to go up to his place and hang out there. And one time when we had the Jag in there, and was getting it overhauled at the dock just below there. I called Frank on the phone one day because he had an apartment just above his club, and it was about closing time. And I called him and I said, Frank, I said, this is Captain. They always call me Captain. And he says, where are you, Captain? I said, I'm sitting down at this dock just below you. I said, I can see right into your apartment. And he says, well, that's great. And I said, I'll tell you what I'll do, man. I'm going to wait for you to go over. I'm going to put my searchlight right on your apartment. And I says, you go over and on a signal, you do this to this lamp, and I'll turn that searchlight on. And you can tell these people that are there, I'm going to make this light on this boat down there. Come on. And he did, and it was hilarious. And so Frank and I got to be good friends for years after that. I followed him around St. Louis. He would go, built other clubs and everything, and I was always go out to Frank's place when I was up there. So I liked St. Louis, you know. Another club I used to hang out was a place called Radisson's. Now, Johnny Radisson, one of the closest friends I guess I ever had, he was a tough guy, ex-boxer. He had won a lot of fights as a pro boxer, welterweight. And he had this club in a kind of a tough part of St. Louis. A lot of motorcyclers hung out there. And but Johnny was tough himself. And one of the other things that Johnny had going for him, he was an Olympic boxing referee. He refereed the Olympics. I got medals downstairs that Johnny gave me from between Russia and the United States. And so I got to hanging out at Johnny's quite a bit too. And I liked him. Had another good friend. I had a lot of friends in St. Louis. And so I continued to operate Weathers, and finally I told him one day, I said, you know, I think I'm going to move on to something else. You know, I guess my 3 years was about getting up. You know, every 3 years I move along, change something different. I said, what's the matter? I said, well, you know, I'd like to own part of this place. And he says, well, all right, we'll give you 10% ownership in these 3 boats. That was a lot of money. A lot of money. But I was only going to get like 1% a year for 10 years. I had to stay there 10 years. I'm locking you in for the next 10 years, pal. You're not going anywhere. Because I did do a good job for them. And I remember old man Weathers. What a tough old bird he was. One time, he and I, we flew into St. Louis and went to a club up there. And he was from the old Southern group that he worked the levees, and, you know, and he had whips, and he worked these blacks like they were slaves, even though they weren't, you know. But he was that kind of guy. And I remember one time we was in this club in St. Louis, and this bartender and a black man got into this argument. And Mr. Weathers, he always carried this 41 Derringer in his pocket. And I saw him go in his pocket to pull the thing. I said, Mr. Weathers, you're not in Greenville. You're in St. Louis.
Don't apply a little Southern justice.
Yeah, right. You don't do that here, you know. So, but he was that kind of guy. They were a fun bunch of people to work for. Matter of fact, what a beautiful job. They got me a membership in the most exclusive country club out there with this beautiful golf course and everything. Had a cart, everything, you know. So, you know, I'd go out there and play golf 3, 4, 5 days a week with them. They all like to play, and I enjoyed playing.
Okay, Cap, we'll wrap it up. I hope everybody comes back and watch some more of Captain Harold DeMarrero's River Stories. Thanks for watching.